You know, I would like to take a different approach. You all were in the audience when the government agencies presented their testimony. You all submitted the testimony you just gave days in advance of hearing that testimony. So I want to give each one of the opportunity to kind of respond to those agencies who are here today, their testimony, and I want to hear your reaction to it and any comments you would like to have us as your members of Congress and your representatives here to know. So let's just go down the line here, and I want to give you the opportunity to take a couple of minutes to respond. Mr. Collette?
Yes, sir. And I know for the Department of Defense, I do all my contracting with the Department of Defense. Make a few comments on that. Their current strategic plan for 2009 is to continue on that slope at the same rate to hit a goal. And it is a public law, 106-50, which says 3% of all federal contracts will be 3% for service-disabled veterans, minimum of 3%, and that's law. And they should be going for that goal, and there's ways of doing it for both subcontractors and federal contract and prime contracts. I personally am on 11 different contracts for large companies doing defense work, and I typically am getting about 1% of that contract each year, exactly the goal. And we do really neat, big stuff on aircraft carrier architecture, design, integrating systems, strategic support for the Pacific Missile Range, a lot of big programs that people with 22-inch foreheads are working on. Okay, so but we're only getting that piece that's being in the strategic plan. We can do a lot more than that, and it's unfortunate that the goal is there. In the VA, they've set a 7% goal, and guess what they're hitting? 8%. So if the leadership hits it and attacks it and goes for it aggressively, it'll be done. Guarantee it. There's no hammer within the Department of Defense to really try to attain some of those goals, unfortunately, and I like them to try to hit those things. It can be done, and the qualified good people are out there to really do it. We have a $25 million, $30 million prime contract that we were awarded 6 months ago, second largest one in the Seaport Navy contract for over 5 years, and we've only been funded at about $100,000 so far, doing things to get critical equipment and critical capabilities to the forward warfighters in the global war on terrorism. So the vehicles are there. There's funding out there to do these things. It's just not getting to the service-disabled veterans because the leadership within the Department of Defense is not has its arms around it. And I hope we get more work now.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question.
To go down the table, the SBA is doing a great job. They're woefully underfunded. They need help. The Department of Transportation, they do things that I don't do. We do security systems, but they don't want to do a security system for a small region. They want to do the state of Virginia. Well, unfortunately, we do large security systems, several million-dollar security systems, but I couldn't do the surveillance system for all of the roads in the state of Virginia. So, they're not interested in breaking things up, which is fine with me. That's not a problem. The VA has got the teeth that everybody needs, and they have the authority to do sole source contracting. Case in point, they needed security upgrades to their VA medical centers in Vision 6, which is out of Hampton. We received a sole source contract for right at $2 million to go do that, and we're in the process of doing that for them. And we're doing the design and installation all at the same time. So you get two things. You save time and you save a lot of money. To follow on with that, their competitive procurements of service disabled. That's their prime focus. And that's not an after the fact with them. That's up front with them. We have won competitively a $1.3 million mass announcement system. It's part of your anti-terrorism package for a large hospital. That's what the VA's doing. The VA's out front. This is what the rest of the federal agencies need. They need the same language that the VA has. As far as DOD, as far as construction is concerned, they're not even setting aside 1/2 of 1%. They're bundling contracts. They're using mass contracts for the large players. And the latest wrinkle is for the large contractor to go out and find another large contractor to subcontract to, and then say, well, no, look, now you go find a service-disabled veteran contractor, and we're going to sign 2 combined contracts. And what's going to happen is we'll just work with you, and the service-disabled veteran contractor won't even have to bond it. And we'll just do a pass-through and just add another $100,000 onto your bid and bring them in as a shell game. And I have one of those contracts for you if you'd like to have it. And Congressman and I have provided it to your office. This is the latest wrinkle. And this thing actually is a 2-part contract which allows the prime to cancel the contract with the VA, service-disabled member, keep the contract with the second-tier sub, and pocket the difference as profit. That's pretty good. Now, that's your trickle-down using big businesses to get work to service-disabled veterans. That's the biggest hooey I've ever heard in my life, and I refuse to do it.
I had minority ownership in Hoholen since 1994. In 2007, I had an opportunity to buy out some non-active, non-participating partners that held the majority of the stock. Our local bank, it's a very small private-owned bank, I had approached them obviously because we had been doing all our business with them, all our lending, everything has been with the local bank. Because of a weak balance sheet, they preferred to run a loan, basically what I needed to borrow to buy the company, the rest of the company, through the SBA. That started in March of 2007, and it took approximately almost 4 months to get to the point where I received some sort of approval. And the problem was that literally every 2 to 3 weeks I'd get another roadblock, a request for more paperwork, more documentation. And it was really getting ridiculous. And I'd have to call and say, where are we at with this? And the bank would go, I don't know, let me call and find out. It just dragged on and on. And interesting enough, I approached another bank. I was wanting to stay the course. I was wanting to get this finished so we could complete the purchase. And I went to another local bank, another private-owned but larger bank, and the owner came out literally the next day. And within an hour and a half, we had a verbal approval. Within 2 weeks, it was done. And we didn't have to put up the collateral that was required for the SBA. So, again, you know, if there was that risk, the other bank didn't see that and went on what we showed them, which was the same documentation we showed the SBA. Again, I don't deal with the DOD, or I don't deal directly with the large government agencies directly because we're in a very small area. But as far as the Department of Transportation, our state really doesn't have much funding at all. I mean, and coming into our area is very little money. So, you know, the business opportunities really aren't there at this time. One thing I was encouraged when the Recovery Act was proposed was there was going to be a Buy American clause in there. You know, we're an American company. I'm an American. I'm proud to be American. You know, America's the strongest country in the world. And we're proud, our company's proud to sell American-made products. But I see the proliferation of foreign products in our industry specifically. And that's disheartening because it doesn't give me any advantage at all, because if I'm trying to compete with a foreign-made product with an American-made product, it's not level at all. It's not fair. And yet there's nothing in the, you know, there may be a specification come out. In fact, it just happened recently for, you know, a 6-foot-tall fence with barbed wire and certain size posts and that. But that was the end of it. You know, it didn't say, you know, to be American-made products. I know that the school system is saying that now. I'm glad to see that, use American-made products. But it's just not fair to let foreign-made products come into the marketplace. It puts us at another disadvantage.